Dirt Trax is sponsored by Ontario Highlands. Come wander. And by Eastern Ontario Trails Alliance. Your backyard just got bigger.
Every season we do a destination story within Ontario, Canada. This season we got asked to ride Eastern Ontario. And I'm embarrassed to say I haven't ridden these trails in a long time, but I have heard huge improvements have been made in not only trail maintenance and trail building, but also connections to the towns and general signage and mapping. So I'm really excited to get back out here and see how much different these trails are after all these changes have been made. This trip is split into two parts, and the first part is centered around the town of Tweed, which is sort of, in the central part of the EOTA trail network. We're staying at a little motel that's right on the water in the town of Tweed, and Tweed is a beautiful little town. EOTA trails are located really conveniently. You're just a little bit east of, say, the Aurelia-Barrie area. You're just a little bit west of Ottawa. You're north of the 401 highway by like 2 kilometers for the lowest point in the trail system, and then you go as far north as, say, Bancroft and Algonquin Park. So it's very eastern centrally located. Our contact for this trip is a guy named Steve Baldwin, and he's both our guide and our general sort of organizer for this trip. He's also the president of one of the clubs within the EOTA.
Well, the EOTA is Eastern Ontario Trails Alliance. It's not only just an alliance of trails, it's an alliance of communities. Principles based on abandoned rail beds at first, and where those abandoned rail beds fell in the communities.
EOTA trails are organized in a kind of a unique way, I think. They actually organize their own trails into sort of loop rides and almost compartmentalized day rides that you can do. The one we're doing is called the Figure 8 Loop because it's shaped like a figure 8, go figure. There's one thing I learned very quickly about these trails. It's that there is a lot of bridges, and the locals are really proud of their bridges. So, of course, the first thing you gotta do when you leave the town of Tweed is you gotta cross this bridge, and it's not just your average ATV or rail line bridge. It's unique. The town has come together and they've painted a mural along one side of the bridge, and it's all different pictures of stickmen doing interesting things, and it's kind of a unique feature if you think about it. I would say that riding this EOTA Figure 8 loop is the closest thing I've ever done to snowmobiling on an ATV, and there's a very good reason for that. These trails are snowmobile trails in the winter. So of course they're maintained like snowmobile trails. They're maintained that way in the summer also. And the people who are maintaining them and building them and organizing them, they're all avid snowmobilers. So for them, they get that people want to ride ATVs the way they ride snowmobiles. They want to ride that same way all year round, and they've created a trail system where you can do that. Right in the middle of the Figure 8 loop, and what creates the actual Figure 8 itself, is a really unique feature of these trails. It's where 2 rail beds actually crossed each other. What that means is that one ATV trail goes under the other ATV trail. It's something I've never seen on any other ATV trail anywhere. Generally speaking, when 2 trails meet, they just meet at an intersection. In this case, there's actually a bridge. It's like a highway, and it's a really unique spot that you have to see if you're going to do the Figure 8 loop, but you should go see anyway, even if you're not. I think something that's going to open up these riding areas here in Eastern Ontario, and all of Ontario for that matter, to ATVers and side-by-siders in a bigger way than ever, is that our rules here in Ontario have recently changed to allow side-by-side riding, in particular, along roadways. So each municipality has the option of opening up whatever roads they want to side-by-side use, and the town of Tweed and these different municipalities around this area have opened up all roads, which means if you're here, when you unload your truck, when you unload your ATVs or side-by-sides from your truck, say you're staying in Tweed, you don't have to put them back on the trailer until you're ready to go home. Steve was really excited to show us the Marmara mines. And I, to be honest, wasn't as excited as he was because I've seen mines before. I've seen a lot of them in my travels, and I thought, what's the difference, right? It's just a mine. When we pulled in, there wasn't really anything to set apart what this experience was going to be. It looked to me just like we're driving in a driveway up to a lookout area over some boring hole in the ground. And when we actually walked into the viewing area of the mine, that all changed. It is a spectacular site. The mine itself is expansive, it's huge. I can't remember how many acres it covers, but it's almost ridiculous. And the water is this aqua blue color. It almost looks fake. It looks like somebody painted it on the ground. It just doesn't look real. There's really a piece of that local area history there, but it is also something to take a picture of and take home as a memory with you. It's pretty impressive. Day 2 of our tour of the EOTA trails had us going from Tweed, where we started and had our first day's adventure, to the town of Bancroft. But after I got thinking about it, I realized I didn't have anybody to ride with me. The guys who rode with us the first day weren't available for the second day, so I was gonna be doing this alone. It just so happens, one of the camera guys who's with us is my buddy Graham, and him and I get along great. We ride together. He and I travel a lot together, and he is an avid ATVer off camera, and he's also ridden this area tons of times. He knows it like the back of his hand. So I said, Graham, put down the camera. You're riding with me. You and I are going to Bancroft. And I don't think I've seen a guy that happy in a long time. All right, buddy, you ready to be on this side of the camera?
Oh man, I'm ready.
Your 15 minutes of fame?
Yeah. Sure you can handle that Wildcat?
I don't know. You're gonna get cooties from the player?
Working with Trax TV, I'm the camera operator and editor. I'm also an ATV enthusiast, so I'm also a fan of the show. I have been a fan for the show for a long time. To experience the show behind the scenes and being behind the camera, it's very interesting. So when I got asked to go on this trip to Eastern Ontario Trails, I thought it was a trip of a lifetime. I was very happy not only to film it, also to be in the show and riding a side-by-side.
We saddled up outside our hotel in Tweed, and we actually took one of the same trails we rode, the figure 8 loop, took us out to the actual rail bed that goes straight to Bancroft. Nice thing about this actual sort of trip is that there's almost nowhere to get lost. It's one trail all the way to Bancroft. You just get on and you go. Another nice thing about it is that there's tons of places to stop while you're riding. There's towns with food and gas and everything you'd need, and they're not so far apart that you're stressed about, are you gonna make it, and you have to carry stuff with you. You could go there with nothing in the back of your side-by-side and make it no problem. Graham knew exactly where he was going. He knew these trails, he knew every intersection, so I was very confident we weren't gonna have trouble. But even after we were doing the ride, I realized anybody could do this, no problem.
Trails that we were riding today, I knew they were going to be a straight line. It's pretty nice scenery. The signage is awesome, so you can't really get lost anywhere. These trails are a lot more relaxed, and you get to enjoy it a lot more from point A to point B than you would on a normal, more technical trail.
Because this trail is almost entirely rail bed, it's, again, like the day before, very flat, and a lot of straight stretches. It's not tight and twisty. But what makes it fun is the fact that you can cover such big miles in such a short amount of time and do it without really being stressed about it. It's nice to know that no matter where you are in this trail, you're gonna be able to get to your destination before the end of the day. Don't worry about it getting dark. Everything's gonna be fine. Where are we?
Right here.
There you go. Right there. Sure enough, we pulled up to an intersection, and there's this great big map, and it doesn't just cover the trails we were riding. This map covers the whole Eastern Ontario region. Graham and I must have spent 20 minutes there just looking at the map, looking at the towns we know we'd been to and how they connected here and trails we'd ridden in the winter. We could even see the town of Haliburton, which is where I'm from. And I think a great story in the future would be to start in Haliburton and ride the trails all the way across to Bancroft. We knew that at that point we were about halfway, and we knew exactly how much further we had to go to get to Bancroft and get some food in our bellies. I would say the only roadblock to this trip was the heat, and we picked the 2 hottest days of the year here in Ontario to do this trip.
When we're riding down these trails, it's almost like there's so much heat coming up from the bikes and that, and you're just sweating and you're like, oh, I hope there's some water somewhere.
When we saw this piece of trail piece of rail bed that was completely covered in water. I immediately in my mind knew what Graham was thinking, and he knew what I was thinking. It's time to blast some water. After we cooled off in the water, the last leg of our trip was to get us to Bancroft. And we had a goal in Bancroft. We had a place that we wanted to check out. It's called the Eagle's Nest. It's a cool place to get a view of the expanse of countryside in the Bancroft area. So we thought that's going to be our destination. And we came to, I would say, one of the more unique features of riding the town of Bancroft, a dedicated ATV snowmobile bridge that was built by the town specifically to help ATVers and snowmobilers cross the river into the town of Bancroft. It's quite an undertaking. It's an impressive bridge, and it really is a graphic example of how dedicated Bancroft is to making the town accessible to ATVers and snowmobilers.
So when we entered Bancroft, riding through the town, it was a very nice looking town. Everybody seemed very welcoming, and we stopped at the tourism center to get some directions on where to go in the town. After that, we decided to hit up this Eagle Nest. I've been told about it, but I've never been there before. So we headed in, and then sure enough, it was kind of like, wow, wasn't expecting this.
My overall impression after riding 2 days on EOTA trails, riding the Tweed area and the Figure 8, then riding up to Bancroft, is that this area offers almost unlimited possibilities when it comes to types of rides you can do. You want to do a 1-day loop? You got it. You want to do a Figure 8 loop? You got it. You want to do a 2-3 day loop from the Tweed area? You got it. You want to do an overnighter that's a destination out and back? You can do that. Do you need to have your ride guided? You can do that too. I think this is a real hidden gem in Eastern Ontario that a lot of people don't talk enough about. But I do feel that's going to change as more and more people rediscover the area like we just did.
Dirt Trax was presented by Eastern Ontario Trails Alliance. Your backyard just got bigger. And by Ontario Highlands. Come wander.
If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe to Dirt Trax TV's YouTube channel so you never miss another update.